There you go.
So first off, thank you to all of you for being here today. You're in the heart of my childhood. You are in the place, literally, that has inspired me every day that I have been alive. This is called Woodcock Park, and it's named after a famous Brigadier General, Amos W.W. Woodcock, who grew up in a huge house that this whole block here, house was right in the middle, and there was a big spring. You can see it as you go down Riverside Drive. Amos W.W. Woodcock lived there. He served in World War I and World War II. He was called upon by President Hoover to head Prohibition. He served as the president of St. James College in Annapolis, and upon retiring, served as many years as the president of the Wicomico County School Board. Historian Richard Cooper remembered him as a person who stood up for what was just and what was right, and admired him for his convictions. As I stand in front of you today, 1 week from our mayoral election, I hope to inspire in you the same things that Cooper remembers about Woodcock. This is also the street and the park where I spent my childhood. Where you're standing right now, world champion box hockey players, tetherball players, and kickball players were made here in the 1970s, and I count myself among them. I thank the Parks and Recreation Department for making a childhood of summers fun and safe. This is not the only neighborhood in Salisbury where residents know each other, but increasingly in our city, it is not safe to walk on the sidewalks of these streets, or drive to an ATM, or venture out for a gallon of milk at night. And too many of the houses in our neighborhoods are being allowed to fall into states of disrepair that invite blight into our neighborhoods, which lead to crime and to gangs. Between 50% and 70% of this city's residents live in rental housing, and that in itself does not condemn us to a city of decline. But the days of college students living in converted sunrooms, garages, and basements, of a patrol car being too far away, the sight of houses that appear to be standing only because of force of habit, and drug havens that make neighbors worry for the safety of themselves and their children, and the laws that provide no legal way for neighbors to prove that a house is being used legally, those days must end. Study after study shows us that urban revitalization begins with consistent and vigorous code compliance efforts. The city of Salisbury must enforce its laws and improve the ones that are outdated. So as mayor of the city of Salisbury, what will I do? Well, I have a plan, and it's called Neighborhoods First. And my plan to make Neighborhoods First includes the following. As mayor, I will lead the effort to modernize our antiquated housing codes. Every resident of this city, every single mother, every college student, every family, every senior must have access to houses that are safe and maintained. It matters not if your rent or your mortgage is $300 a month, $1,300 a month, or $2,300 a month. You have a right and a responsibility to and for code compliance. As mayor, I will close the large loopholes in our housing codes that make it impossible to prove that a house is being used legally in our city, and reverse the laws that tell us that the judges, the judicial system, the judges tell us doesn't work for us anymore. As mayor, I will fight crime by decentralizing our police department, reopening our substations, put more officers on bike and foot patrol so that you know them and they know who you are. Only when that happens can we begin to restore, with a sense of shared values about the expectations of neighborhoods, to begin to ensure our safety. All of our neighborhoods like Doverdale, like Princeton Homes, Camden, Church Street, are in dire need, the West Side, in dire need of admitting that we have a problem with crime. As mayor, I will submit legislation to the council that fixes our 3 strikes and you're outlaw, and makes enforcement of nuisance properties, whether homeowner or rental. Hear that, homeowner or rental. Whether homeowner or rental, a reality. As mayor, I pledge to our university students to address their safety on the Smith Street corridor, and on the Only Road corridor, and the Hanover corridor, and the Pinehurst corridor, and the Loblolly corridor, even though it's not inside the city limits. I promise to work with the university administration and with those students to bring down the incidents of crime perpetrated against our university residents. Not our university students, our university residents. As mayor, I promise, and hear this, SAPOA, I promise fair and equitable enforcement of our housing code. I say it again, fair and equitable enforcement of our housing codes. There are good landlords and there are bad landlords. There are good homeowners and there are bad homeowners. Code compliance is our first line of defense against blight that leads to crime, drugs, and gangs. So, let me say this, neighborhood revitalization cannot be realized until certain rumors stop. And this is why you're here today and why I need you to leave here and tell everybody what it is that I say today.